everyone, welcome to Facebook Live. We are here at the Prima office. I'm here with Addy.
Hi guys.
And we're going to be doing some kind of like Artisan Powder 101 little feature here. We have all of my Artisan Powders. I always get questions about Artisan Powder. What is it? What do you use it for? What is it good for? And there's a lot of different colors, lots of pretty colors that I like. So I'm going to actually do a little swatch for you, kind of share all of the different colors, what they do, what they're good for, and then just give you a couple of examples. I have Fiend, one of our graphic designers behind the camera. Hello. She is going to be modding as well as Carrie. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go. And if you want to see something up close, just let us know. So here are the Artisan Powders. So these powders come in this little tin, which is really cute. Now, the original colors, which are these three, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute, did not come with the label colored. They were kind of designed as a standalone product, but then we kind of expanded into different colors. So you can see the different colors are actually on the label now. The original ones actually say the color here. So this one's umber, black, and clay. And then you have all of these other colors that were released later. Now the newest colors here are French blue, Marquise blue, and the Trianon Patina. These are new colors that we just came out with, as well as the Merlot color. So they kind of were released slowly over time. Now, what are Artisan Powders? So Artisan Powders are dry pigment powders. So they do not have shimmer like mica. So they're a little bit different. Now, when you open it for the first time, you can see there's a little seal. All you gotta do is take this off, and you will get like a sifter. So if you're familiar with foundation or makeup, it kind of reminds you of that. So what you do is you kind of close it back up, give it a little shake, and then you get some of the product out. See that? And it comes a little bit out at a time. Now this is one of those products where you want to kind of use a little bit at a time because it's so concentrated. It goes a long way. Now the pigment powder does not have any shimmer, and that's what makes it different than mica powder. Mica powder kind of has minerals and shimmer in it. This is more of a pigment powder. It's solid. It doesn't shine. Okay, unless you wanted to, you can add other micas into it. But in itself, it's more of a flat matte color. So this is great for coloring any porous surfaces. So if you have wood or paper or resin or anything like that, you can color that. This even works on furniture if you use it on furniture. And that is a permanent powder, which means that if it's something that you're going to be like a craft product, it'll be permanent on there. You can also dye fabric with this. So if you get like a piece of ribbon or a piece of fabric and you want to dye it, you can actually dye it with this as well. So this has a million uses, and I kind of want to swatch them for you. So I'm going to grab a little piece of paper here. Now the best way to use these is basically with a dry brush. Now there is an artisan brush, I just couldn't find one, so I'm just going to use these pretty Prima brushes. You can use any soft brush. Soft brushes work the best with this powder because it's very fine. So we're going to start with the original colors, and I'm going to have Addy open those for me as we go. I'm going to start with clay. Now clay is a very nice brown. Now the neutrals are the best because those are actually nice for any project. They kind of add a very nice neutral palette to anything you use. So this one is clay. I'm gonna just shake it a little bit, and you can see how pretty that color is. It's like a very light brown. Okay, so I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna take a little bit of the powder with my brush, and you can see the powder sticks to the brush really nicely. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on my paper here. And you can see a little bit goes a long way. I'm just brushing it. Now, you can actually do it this way, right? Or you can use it with your finger. So if you wanted to, you could just brush it on with your finger and just kind of expand that color, just brush it out like that. And you can see how it just goes onto the paper very, very nicely. And then you just want to kind of blow off the excess. I'm just gonna blow it off. And that would be clay right there. And it's a very nice color. Now I'm gonna have Addy pass me a pen here so we could just write down the colors here real quick. And what you do to clean off the brush is you just have to wipe it on a piece of paper, and then it's good. So I'm gonna use this really pretty Prima pen. This one is called clay. Okay, so that's a really nice one. Now the next one here is going to be umber. Now umber is a very dark color. So this one is more of a darker shade of brown. So I'm gonna take this one here, and I'm gonna give, and see, you can see how little I use and how much kind of goes onto your paper. So I'm just gonna put this down, and again, I'm gonna take my finger, and I'm just gonna try to blend that in there.
It's like a mocha.
It is. It's a very nice dark color. You can see the difference in intensity here. It's a very different brown.
This is more hazelnut, like
more, yeah, more
caramel color.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put the name on here, Umber.
Everyone is saying hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show. So we are just sharing the artisan powders. If you haven't seen these before, these are dry pigment powders. And we're just swatching them right now. We're just kind of getting a feel for all of the colors. Now, the next one is black. Now, the black one is, of course, very intense. You can see how intense it is. And this one I like because you can get a lot of shades with this one. You can get grays. You can get a nice charcoal color. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just put some down. I'm going to grab a little more. Put that down. And you can see at first it kind of doesn't really look like much, but when you start to blend it, you can see how intense that gets. And the more you blend it out, the more intense it gets.
Michelle is asking, what do you use these on?
So you can use these on paper, like I'm using it now. So if you wanted to antique paper, you would just use it directly onto paper. You can use them on resin, wood, you can use them on any sort of porous surface. So these will work on anything that has pores in it. So like fabric, you can use it on my resin frames like this. We're gonna show you how to use them on these a little later. Okay, or you can use them on any sort of porous surface. So you wouldn't use them on glass, for example, because it won't stick, or on metal, unless you have like gesso over it. So if you have gesso over any of a non-porous surface, you can use these powders. But they usually work on most surfaces, even furniture. So that's the black one right there. You can see how nice that looks. Okay.
On stamping too.
You can, yeah, you can
really
also
fun.
do that.
Alexandra is asking, can you use them wet?
Yes, and we're gonna actually show you how they look wet in a bit. So this is dry. We're just kind of going on. Showing you all of them dry right now. So this is what they look like dry. So now the green one is one of my favorites. This is French sage.
It looks like avocado.
Well, someone told me it looks like wasabi.
Oh yes, that too. So be careful.
Oh yeah, don't put this next to your dining table because it does. Or even green tea. It looks like green tea.
Oh yes, dried green tea.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of French sage, and I'm gonna put this down right here. This is a really pretty color.
I love that. It's such a pretty green. Perfect for Christmas too.
And of course, ladies, with this product, the more you use, the more intense it gets. So you can tell as you go outside of that area, it tends to get a little lighter because it's more fine. So the more intense it is, the more color you'll get. Okay, so that was French sage. Okay, look how pretty that looks. And it gives you a very soft vintage look. It's just very nice. I love the color. I'm gonna blow that excess away. Now I wanna do this one in a bit because this one's a little special, the ivory one. So I'm gonna actually do that in a little bit. Let me just clean off my brush here. And this one here is called Parisian Rosewood, and this one's like a burnt orange almost. You'll see how nice this color is.
It's perfect for fall.
It is actually perfect for fall. Amber Moon would go perfect with this color. And let me just use my finger here.
I love that.
So it's like a burnt kind of orangey.
The more you do it, the more orange it gets. So if you want to, like, you can almost do the red side of it, like on here.
Yeah, it gets very intense. So it just depends on how much you put on there. So that's Parisian Rosewood.
So pretty. Reminds me of pumpkin pie.
How nice is that, huh? Now the next one is actually my favorite of all of them. This is Antoinette Pink. And this one's actually a very soft pink. Now for those of you guys that like shabby chic, this is your color. Because this one's actually just like a very tattered rose color.
Christy is asking, where are these available?
So you can buy these online. These are available on scrapbook.com, Blue Moon Scrapbooking. You can even get them at Cherry on Top, Photobella. You can get them on a lot of online stores, or you can get them at your local scrapbook store. A lot of them are new, so they actually just restocked some of them because they were actually sold out. Now this one's very soft, so you can see how soft and pretty this color is. It's just like a very nice shabby rose color. Just, I don't know what it reminds me of. It's just so like a blush almost.
Yeah.
Not like a real blush, but you know what I mean.
It's so pretty.
Not something you would put on your face.
Let's try it. It's permanent.
I know, huh?
Maybe your makeup would stay on all day.
So this is Antoinette Pink. Look how pretty that is. It's like a very soft, rosy color. Perfect name for it, right? So here is what we have so far. Now, gonna save that one here. So now the Merlot, okay? Merlot is so pretty. It's like an intense color, but it's so nice. Let me show you here real quick.
It reminds me of like cranberry.
It reminds me of cranberries, but it also reminds me of like wine.
Oh yeah.
That's why it's called Merlot, because it's like a wine color.
It has like that purple tint to it.
Mm-hmm. Look at how intense and pretty that is. Now, if you love intense color, this one is for you.
That is so pretty.
Let me just pick up some of that in there, and you can see how little you need and how intense. Look at how intense that is. Ooh wee! I am just going to rub this out. Look how pretty that is.
It's so smooth too.
It is, and you can see how
matte
seamless it blends into the paper. Now, if you wanted to edge cardstock, if you're one of those edgers that loves edging, this is for you.
I love the matte finish to it.
Yes, it's matte. Okay, so this is Miss Amazing Merlot. Beautiful, kind of wine purpley color. Love that. Now, I want to do the next one here real quick. This is French Blue. And this one is just amazing. I mean, how pretty is that color? Royal Blue. But you can see the shade is, you know, once you kind of put it on your paper, it'll get lighter depending on how much you put on there. Or intense. So let's just kind of rub it out so you guys can see. And it's a very nice vintagey blue, perfect for like summer, you know, pretty like nautical stuff, right?
Yes. I love it.
Pretty, pretty.
Clarissa is asking, do these powders dry permanently?
Yes, so these are permanent. So depending on the surface that you put them on, like for example on paper, they're going to be permanent. On resins, they're permanent. On wood, they're permanent. But it just depends how you're going to utilize them. So on most craft projects, they're going to be permanent. But if you're going to use them on something like furniture, you would have to put a wax or a sealant over it because it's going to be something that's going to be handled. So if it's something that's going to be handled, like, you know, something that you're going to put like on a doorknob or anything like that for decor purposes, then you do need to seal it. But if it's something like a craft project where you're going to put this on the front of an album, something that people are not going to be going like this for, you know, to
touching it
it'll
too
be
much.
fine. I've put stuff on resins before and all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't disappear. It's pretty permanent on most surfaces, especially like on fabric.
I want to dye something.
I know. I've dyed trim before, and it looks so pretty. Now, this one here is one of the new ones. This is Marquise Blue, and it's a very like, I almost want to say like baby blue sort of color. You can see how sweet that is. It's just so nice. Let's just rub this here.
A couple of people have just joined.
Welcome. We are sharing our artisan powder colors from my Memory Hardware line. And these are just so much fun. And this one's actually so pretty.
That like goes so perfectly with the pink.
Yes, it's just soft. And this is Marquise Blue. Very light blue, very nice. Okay. And then we have we saved kind of like the best for last here. We have one more to show, but this one is the Trianon Patina. And this one's very nice for creating patina effects, which is what we're going to show a little bit in a little bit. So this one's a little bit darker, but you can see how nice it blends.
Such a pretty mermaid color.
It is. It's so nice. It's one of my favorites.
Katie just asked, are these sold in sets or separate?
These are sold separately, so you can buy them individually. So they are not sold in sets, but you can buy them individually right now. And these are all available now.
Donna just asked, do the colors blend well with each other,
Yes.
such as an ombre effect?
Yes, they do, and I'm going to show you guys that in a second. Now, the last one I wanted to show you is Vintage Ivory, and that one is a white. Now, everybody always asks me, oh, what do you use the white for? What is it good for? So the white is actually more, if you swatch it, for example, I'm going to swatch it here. It's not really going to do anything, and the reason why is because it doesn't really go well onto white surfaces. It's just going to create like a very creamy ivory kind of color. I don't know if you guys could see that, but Phoenix, is that picking up on the camera?
Yeah, just a bit.
So kind of like that.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to mention this color is because, I'll show you in a second. Let me just kind of write the name down here. This one's Vintage Ivory. Now this one's great on dark surfaces, right? But it's also great on other colors. So for example, let me just take out a little blending tool here. This one here is a great, I call it an eraser when I teach my classes. It's an eraser because in the sense as if you're doing a mixed media project, let's say for example, and you're working with a dark artisan powder. This one lightens up any area, so it brightens up the colors. It's a really great color for brightening and for whitening. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna show you how that works. So here's all the swatches. We're gonna kind of keep this on the side here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take another color. I'm gonna take my patina color. And I'm gonna take a little blending tool here, just to kind of pick up some of that powder. And I'm just gonna put some on here and just kind of blend it out.
So pretty.
Okay, and you can see how nice it goes onto paper. Now, if I wanted to antique this whole sheet, I could, okay? You can see right here to take more and just blend it out, and make an antique piece of paper, okay? This is just with a Trianon Patina, okay? And you can see how that kind of antiques it. Now, if you wanted to just edge it, okay, you could just edge the paper here on the edge and just go in and edge the edges of it. Kind of make a nice edged effect, right? Now, the white, on the other hand, is gonna brighten. So if I take this, okay, it's just gonna brighten that color out. And you can see how that just changes the color and it brightens it. It doesn't remove it completely, but depending on the surface, it'll just brighten the shade, okay? It's more of an eraser than it is something that you would use individually. You could use it, for example, if you wanted to brighten a darker area that you have on a project, but not necessarily on its own, because unless you're using it on a dark background, it won't really show anything on white. But someone was asking about blending. So if you blend, I'm just gonna wipe that off. I'm gonna turn over my paper here. So I can take my blue here. I'm gonna just take a little bit of the blue. I'm just gonna kind of make a little bit of an ombre effect. And I'll take a little bit of the marquise. You need to shake these out a little more, Addy. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the marquise and just kind of blend those as I go. Right?
That's great.
Now, of course, I'm kind of going the opposite way, so I should actually go and do the dark blue at the end, because we're trying to do like a light to dark sort of thing. I'm gonna go in here and just kind of put this out here and blend it all the way in. See that?
Wow, so pretty.
So the colors blend perfectly. So there's actually no wrong way to do this. You can actually just blend it out. Imagine this on the front of a card or on a tag. You can blend all kinds of colors. All these colors blend together perfectly. Now, my favorite course, are going to be the browns. You can see I have black here, I have umber, okay?
Chanel is asking, do you have to seal it once your project is done?
So you would only seal it if it's something that's gonna get handled all the time. It is a permanent product, so you don't actually have to do anything to make it permanent. But if it's something that's gonna get handled, I would seal it just to make sure it doesn't rub off over time. But it will not, I mean, you would have to rub it a lot for it to come off. It's a very permanent product. It does have a lot of permanence to it.
And it can be a little bit messy.
It can be a little bit messy.
Don't mind our messiness here.
Yeah, Addy has a little bit of a mess going on over there, but that's okay.
You know, just dealing with opening and closing them. Just so you're warned, maybe set some napkins down.
Yeah, it does tend to get everywhere, but you know. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and put in some of the brown in here so you guys could see how the brown looks. And I actually ended up having a little bit of the other color in there, so it might just kind of look a little wonky. But
brown.
now you can see the brown there, and I'm gonna take a little bit of my black. The black is very intense, so you just kind of have to kind of be careful with it. Just gonna turn this over here real quick. And I'm just gonna blend and blend. And you can see how it blends really nicely. It kind of turns into a very nice charcoal color as you start to blend this out. Now the black obviously is very overpowering, so if you want to add a little bit of brown, you could. And just kind of add that in there. But you can see the colors blend together. They don't separate. So, because it's a very finely milled powder, it's just going to create different ombre effects. Now, if you were to, for example, take this, right? I'm just gonna take this real quick and just finish it off for you guys so you guys could see what I'm gonna do here real quick. I'm gonna just kind of put that on there. And then I'm gonna dust this off. And I'm gonna take some water. I'm just going to put some water on there. Okay. And I'm just gonna go ahead and crumple this paper out.
What are you doing, friend?
I know, huh?
Don't mess up your project.
Well, I'm not. So I'm gonna just go ahead and open this up. And I'm just gonna give it like a bit of an old leather feel. Like this would work probably better on a tag, but I just wanted to show you guys. So I'm just gonna kind of try to get this open. I'm gonna give it a quick dry.
So awesome.
Okay. So if I wanted to, I can just kind of stretch this out. Works better obviously on a manila tag, but I can take a little bit more of that brown and just pass it over and make it look like old leather. See that? Because it's a little bit damp, it'll take that powder and just create this really nice texture on the paper. It just creates like an old, worn leather effect. Just want to shake off that excess. Okay. And the more you add, the more colors and variations you add, it'll create more of a old, worn effect on paper. Okay. Now, someone was asking if we can use these wet. Okay. So you could actually do that. I'm going to take a little bit of watercolor paper. And I'm going to actually take a little bit of the powder. I'm going to take a more intense color here. Actually, let's do Merlot. And I'm going to scoop up a little bit of the powder here onto my surface. Okay.
Andrea is asking, does it react with water?
So because it is permanent, once you actually put it on the paper, you have a very small time frame to kind of work on it. But once it soaks in and it's actually on the paper, especially on paper, it's pretty permanent. So if you re-wet it, it will not reactivate. You would have to add more powder for it to kind of work on another layer. Now I'm going to take a little bit of water on a brush and I'm going to just kind of activate that powder. And you can see that just kind of turns into like a very nice, almost like a watercolor-like consistency. You see that? So you can actually create and paint with this powder. course, the more water you add, the more diluted it gets. You see that?
So pretty.
Now, of course, because it is permanent, you kind of have to work with it pretty fast. So this is something you would want to work on if you're like doing a coloring book, or if you're just wanting to do mixed media splatters or backgrounds. You can see how nice it blends with water. Now, you can actually create your own sprays with this, and the spray would be a matte spray. So if you were to put it on an empty spray bottle, because it's so fine, it will create a very fine spray that's matte. So it will not have any shimmer, which is nice for like laces, or if you just wanted to add like a very nice kind of watercolor effect onto your project. So you can see how that dilutes completely with water. Okay, so that's another way to use it. You can use these wet or dry. You can actually also, I'm going to show you this here real quick. You can actually mix this with all of our mediums. So if you have, for example, some light paste, you can take some of this.
Andrea's asking, does it work with stencils? Just thinking since it's a powder.
So it'll work with stencils if it's mixed with a medium. So on its own with a stencil you could, but you would have to use a blending tool so that it goes into all of the nooks and crannies. Yeah. So I'm gonna take I don't know, the blue. Now with mediums, of course, you want to make sure that you are using enough to make it dark. So for example, because I'm mixing a dark color into white, it's going to create sort of like a very light blue. Does that make sense? And you can make your own custom paste, your own custom gels. You just have to mix it really, really well in there. And the more paste you add, the lighter it gets. The less paste and more powder you add, you can see the color starts to turn into that paste, okay? And of course, because it's very fine, you just have to kind of keep mixing it until you like the color that it creates. Just gonna keep mixing here. Now, if you leave it, like if you don't mix it super well, you're gonna get really cool streaks of color. I don't know if you guys could see that, but it just kind of creates like a really nice streaky, I love the effect it does. But if you keep mixing it, you can see the color just kind of turns. Now, if I were to add more paste, I'll get a more lighter color. So I'm gonna go back in, just scoop some more of that. And you can see once you start to put more paste in there, it just turns lighter. So it just, this is more of a color game, really. You're just playing with colors and seeing what happens. You can see how little of the powder I used, and it just changed the paste completely. And this will work on gels, it'll work on gesso, it'll work on regular modeling paste. Okay, now once you have this all mixed and done, you can put this on a stencil. You can use it with a palette knife, on a canvas, on anything you want. And you can see how nice it spreads onto a piece of paper. Just spreads really nicely. See that? And of course, you want to mix it as much as you want, or as much as you can, so that you get a very nice effect on there. But there you go. There's your own custom modeling paste.
It's like frosting.
It is like
I
frosting.
want to eat it. Stop it.
So
You're gonna make me eat that. It's like, wait a second.
So that's another way to use these. Okay, I'm just gonna get this little messy part out. Is there any questions so far? Are you guys loving the artisan powders as much as I am?
We're loving the blue.
The blue is very pretty. And I mean, there's so many possibilities
Color
because these color options are great to mix together, so you can see how nice they are. Now the last thing I wanted to show you is I wanted to show you how I use it, like for example on a resin. So I have this resin right here. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of brown. Brown is my favorite color, so on this range here. So I'm gonna just go in with a little bit of brown, and I'm just gonna start putting that on there. You can see how easy that goes on.
It goes a long way.
Yep, I have a little bit of the powder. I'm just gonna go in and antique that resin. And of course, using a brush works very nicely with this.
And it's so easy, you guys. It's like effortlessly.
Yeah.
It just goes on so easy.
And this is a resin frame. Now it is a matte frame, so it's easier to put any sort of powder on it. Imagine if you had like a doorknob or something that you would want to use as a home decor piece, how nice this would look.
Turn your cabinet door like knobs.
Mm-hmm.
So cute.
Andrea says thanks for the inspiration.
Oh, you're welcome.
Pink set the flowers. Are you sure?
Well, I'm gonna just make it all antique, and I'm actually gonna mix a couple of colors on here in a sec.
Do you want the other brown?
Desiree says, hi Frank, looking forward to meeting you in Arizona.
Hello. All right, now you can see here it's a little bit brown. Now, what I like to do right away as soon as I have this done is I like to rub off some of the excess so that it's not all crazy brown, right? It just kind of makes it,
So rustic.
yeah, it just makes it very shabby, right?
Yes.
So now I just rubbed off a little bit. I'm gonna go in with my patina.
I love this one.
And I don't need to do anything or like clean my brush. I just kind of go in and I'm just gonna put some in different spots. And again, I'm just gonna rub off a little bit of that. I'm gonna go back with my brown, add a little more in there. And the more you work these powders, it just makes it look better. Okay. Now once I have this, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of a spray, because these work nicely with our color bloom sprays. And I'm just gonna very lightly just kind of spray over the top. And I'm just gonna give this a quick dry.
So quick to antique it.
Now you can start to see how this looks like a vintage, like something that's been sitting out in an old house outside, or something that's been just left behind. Like it looks like an old piece, right? Something like a piece of furniture or something. Look how nice that looks. Now if I wanted to, I can go in and keep going. I can keep adding powders on this and just keep adding details, right?
I love the more you add the different like colors and
Or even if I wanted to, I can add a little pop of color. So if I wanted to kind of put a little bit of shabby pink on those roses, I can go in here and just add, see that? A little touch of pink.
love it. I love the pink. It's probably my favorite.
It's very nice. I can also even add some of the sage green. So again, all these colors work well together. You can add some of that to make it look kind of mossy. Or if you have a Halloween project in mind.
You know, that green is so perfect for anything. Halloween and Christmas. And fall. And browns.
Janice is asking, where can one get these?
So you can actually get these in any online store. So I know scrapbook.com has them. Blue Moon Scrapbooking, you can get them at Photobella, Scrapbook Diaries. Any store that carries Primer products will have these. Also, your local scrapbook store. If you live near a scrapbook store, make sure you let them know about these. You can see how cool that looks. Just kind of looks like a very old frame that's been left outside. So you can get these effects on anything, on paper, you can get them on resins, on wood, anything like that. Kind of gives it a very nice vintage feel. Okay, so those are artisan powders. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of getting. I know they are they are very messy, but I hope you guys enjoyed kind of learning a little bit about them. Of course, this is just 3 ways that you can use these, but you can actually use them with anything. You can use them to stamp. You can use them on any sort of surface, even on furniture. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to send us a quick message or leave them in the comments below, and we will be sure to answer them. And also, if you guys need more videos on artisan powders, let us know in the comments so we can make some more videos for you guys. All right? Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
Well, thanks, Frank, for showing
Addy,
us.
thank you for coming on with us. So I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one, guys. Bye.